It began well enough. They'd all arrived. He seemed ordinary, predictable. The morning was cold. The road, well, it was a road in Norfolk, flat. No, not that flat.
Is everything all right?
Listen, they've broken two of my headlights. One's wrecked my car. They're too big to run over.
To the left, you can see the entrance to Holman Hall, the residence of the Clare family for the last 600 years.
Wow.
We know that Eleanor Mont cycled from the village to this house, which we shall soon show you.
In this cold? Wow.
To give music lessons to the children of Lord Clare.
Clare, would that be spelled with an I?
It's the same spelling as the poet's.
What kind of bicycle?
What?
What kind of bicycle? With two wheels.
I don't know, Mr. Altony, but we can find out.
The bicycle is a symbol of homosexuality. Male homosexuality. There is no symbol for a female homosexuality. That is because it was not recognized as having a literary significance until the late 20th century. Autoconsciousness, of course, denies the creation of a symbol we remain without.
The room seemed lovely.
Mussels straight from the creek and Holman pie. Breakfast tomorrow at 9?
No, 8. How long have you had the pub?
Ooh, 9 years. It was a mess when we came. The barn was a pigsty, a real one.
I remember an old man with a limp.
Why breakfast at 8?
If we get them tired during the day, we can have the evenings to ourselves.
We'll have to talk to them.
They can talk to each other.
That looks quite good. Especially the London Library ones. Why did we never think of doing this before?
You used not to approve of tourism.
Not in Greece, the beach is spoiled. But this is England, literate, academic. And we're not ruining the countryside.
Yet.
Well, you're not getting cold feet.
I miss the pigsty. The marshes seem bigger, not smaller.
You were here in the summer. She says here that the marshes stretch in the winter wet.
Come and look.
I see it better if I read about it.
Your books.
The ghost is about to appear.
You read your way through our honeymoon.
Only the blue kind.
Cover to cover. I didn't know what to do.
You knew before. And after.
And now?
I've only got one page left. I've got to know the end.
I'm sorry. I wanted to read one of the...
When I first learned as a child that in the past most people couldn't read, my heart went cold. Not to have all those possibilities. You understand 5 or 6 books at once. Novels, but philosophy too. Poetry. Botany, even if it was well written.
They've cut the grass.
We'll have to do what we can.
What? Why?
Please? Could you just come? This was an Augustinian abbey. And of course we recognize the setting of at least 3 of Eleanor Mont's stories. The most famous one is Ruins. Those figures congregating slowly in the dusk, if you remember, waiting to punish the treasure hunter, must have made their circle around here. Perhaps right here. The entire setting is used in Come and Go. And I maintain, although some scholars disagree, that the pale woman also stalks these grounds. Are you all right, Mr. Alderney?
Yes.
Too deep. Too deep.
We have Henry James's snuff box.
What year was the Abbey built?
I'm afraid that is shrouded in the mystery of...
And we bought a pipe from Elgar's garden.
Henry James. His best novel is The Golden Ball. That crack in the ball. What is a crack? Something is whole, normal. It cracks. It is a revelation because we can see through the crack.
This doesn't seem very haunted to me. Is there another abbey somewhere?
No, there's nothing here.
You must understand, she was a writer, and she used her imagination. We must do the same. Nicholas, where's Nicholas?
Yeah. We must try not to disappear.
Her house stood here. It was very small. It was on this side of the footpath.
I feel something. Yes. Imagine living here.
Now we'll walk to the windmill.
Until we name something, order it. Make it ordinary, therefore. It's monstrous, potentially.
Have you seen it? It's almost certain that was sighted yesterday. The white of the tail is unmistakable. And the droop of the head. The wingspan's enormous. White as the vultures. Wow. Hasn't been seen in England for 50 years.
There! There!
Black-backed seagull. Pretty common.
The white-tailed eagle. I knew it by heart. You must understand I loved her stories. I'd never wanted to know anything more. we had to make a living. We were being told to be enterprising. It was a brilliant idea.
Let's tell them it was a joke and call the whole thing off.
And give them their money back.
They'll be asking you to produce Eleanor Mont's ghost next.
Well, perhaps you can arrange it.
By putting a sheet over Nicholas's head.
He reminds me of you when we first met.
There's so much sky around here. Is it like that in Scotland?
Not in Glasgow, no.
As I have said, the facts of her life, that is, the recorded facts, fit the back of a postcard. She was born in this village on February the 27th, 1880. She died in this village in 1929. She is buried in one of the 4 graveyards of the village, who knows where. We have no record of marriage, children, travel. She was the daughter of Henry Mont, fisherman, and of his wife Mary. But was she? We know she was exceptionally gifted, imaginative. She read Latin, she knew music and maths, unusual for a woman at that time. Women were not allowed at King's in those days.
What year were the rules changed?
Long before my time, thank God, but I would be grateful if you would save your questions until the end. Now, with Eleanor Mont, we come to an interesting problem. In most cases, you elucidate a text with the writer's biography.
Excuse me, but it has never been proven that a biography elucidates a text of necessity.
His mother, his school, his first seduction at the hands of a parlour-maid, let's say. In Eleanor's case, we must go to the text to find the biography. And what a biography. Indeed, as with so many women writers, the biography is probably more interesting than the text.
Fear. Why did I look it up? That night. I always carried a dictionary. From the word ambush, related to deceit. I'd known Moreau at Cambridge. He was absolutely ambitious and relatively bright. Hardly fearful.
Let us examine the texts, undress them, as it were, and find revealed the body of the biography in all its intimacy. The texts are all ghost stories. What is a ghost story? What is a ghost? A ghost is a manifestation of sexual repression.
Can't it be someone you love?
As I was saying, a ghost rises from the ground unappeased, that is, from the unconscious, which is the repository of our sexual, as we all know. Now, in The Pale Woman, a young woman visits an abandoned abbey and watches as from its veined and crumbling walls the shape of an animal slowly molds itself, then leaps. Monk doesn't name the animal, but the description fits a wild boar. What could be more phallic than a wild boar? We can only conclude that it is a description of a rape. And we can only conclude that Eleanor Mont was raped as a child by her father, that is, a stepfather, the fisherman Henry Mont.
Could the boar not be her muse? What does the muse of a woman writer look like?
I said I would answer questions when I was finished, Miss.
Docteur, professeur à l'Université de Paris 7.
Now, in Come and Go, a phallic title, if ever there was one, The villagers wonder at the new occupants of the hall, who are only ever seen together walking out on the marshes at twilight and first dawn. This is her best story because it is the clearest biography.
Eleanor Mont lived in this village.
A writer is public property. The biographer cannot take personal feelings into consideration. Consider again that figure sinking into the sea, the lord of the manor, mind you, the lord who fathered her, Lord Clare.
Do you have any proof of what you're saying?
We are talking about the past. You don't prove, you construct. I mean, of course, reconstruct. There will be time for questions later. Mrs.
Lady Anne.
A biographer is like a detective.
When you say...
You sound more like a snoop to me, Professor.
When you say a biography is like a detective, are you suggesting writing is a crime?
A ghost usually does commit a crime of revenge. We know she never married. Why? In those days, every woman would marry if she could. Why did Eleanor Mont not, after all?
She probably had the most uneventful life. He's making it all up because he can't accept the power of her imagination. He's jealous. I'm sorry if it's upset you. Just forget what he said. He's ruined her for me at the moment. I think there are still some people who knew her in the village. Were you studying her at university?
I've never been to university.
You found her on your own?
Who?
Eleanor Mont, her stories.
I've never read them before. I read one the other night. I didn't like it.
But we said in our advert that we only wanted the serious fans of the works of Eleanor Mont.
No. You said you wanted the serious fans of the ghost stories of Eleanor Mont. That's why I came. The ghost stories.
Are you writing one?
No, I live in one.
Privacy is an old-fashioned word. It made for anodyne biographies. I believe it is time for academics to get out of their ivory towers and into the marketplace.
By this cheap vulgarization which illuminates nothing?
She's not in the canon. She is not important. I am giving her the Cambridge stamp. I'm spending hours thinking about her, fantasizing. I am almost in love with her, for God's sake. My wife is even getting jealous. What more can a dead woman want?
My mother knew her. She wanted to be left alone.
Why did she write, then?
She had an imagination. She loved words. We should read her with those virtues.
It used to be a great English virtue to leave people alone. It still is a Norfolk one.
I believe when a writer stumbles on a really good story, he has the right, indeed the duty, to use it.
We envy what we don't understand, her brevity. I suppose your book is very long.
He mustn't worry about other people's over-anxieties.
When you say...
She should have written her own autobiography. She didn't. I may be fulfilling her ambition.
I remember you now. You came here as a child. You rented one of my cottages. Your father... Yes. My nephew's an alcoholic. He's doing very well in the city.
Anyway, I have a feeling that Eleanor is probably secretly flattered by all this attention that is being lavished upon her. I think I understand women. They don't always admit what they want.
Shouldn't a writer understand himself first?
Mark my words, young man. Do not disturb her ghost.
I don't believe in ghosts.
No, I see that you don't. I suppose you live in London.
Just a small something. Hey! We couldn't get a red one. Look at this. There's just one that you better get. Hi, Professor. Thank you very much.
That was some argument. Those English academics, they really think I just teach her in my course. I think it's amazing that she just, wrote ghost stories. I mean, it's not novels. It's more like physics. I mean, there is no other woman. Do you teach her?
No.
You're writing your own book on her. That's why you take all those notes.
That's to help me remember when I go back to my job.
Do you teach at the University of Glasgow?
I'm a locksmith.
Is that like being a structuralist or more like a Freemason?
Nicholas. Nicholas?
Nicholas!
What?
Nicholas!
Nicholas? Hello, please.
Nicholas!
I'm all going to disappear. Please, group, please, thank you, back here, please. Everyone, please, back here. I'll look through the forest. Jenny, you go to the beach. The rest, stay here and keep calling out for him.
Nicholas! Nicholas!
I'll come with you.
Nicholas!
In case.
Nicholas! Nicholas!
There's something wrong with that boy. Nicholas. Locked out somewhere.
She was here. I was sure.
Who? Eleanor Mont? Some people's lives are laced with tragedy. Bruce. That alcoholic father who took him to the beach and forgot about him. Nicholas.
She was a strong swimmer, you understand. Anyway, the water couldn't have been higher than her waist. I felt something, that's why I turned round. And she wasn't there. Nothing. Nothing at all.
But my life had been normal, untouched. And it made me stupid.
A week later, her body, her parents went to identify it. They didn't want me there. I was just the boyfriend who let this happen. I tried to talk to her sister, but she wouldn't tell me anything. 2 years, our love, our promises, our future, and they said I was nothing to do with her. So I began to call her. Tell me what, tell me why. Be with me anyway. Let me touch her. I think that made her angry. She was always so fucking independent. But now I want to fall in love. And she won't leave me.
I could pass exams, but I couldn't make those unlikely connections of the truly intelligent. Pain sharpens the imagination, but they have more, those people. A mystery, like the beginning of a book. Irresistible. Bruce. When he suddenly took fright, I should have made the connection. But I was always behind, you see. No open wounds to feel the wind. It must be here somewhere.
There's a lot of activity in the ground. Such a shame we can't dig it up.
I think I found something!
There's no name.
I can feel something.
There's a lot of activity.
Why don't we assume it's hers and leave?
Because that's unscientific. It's in their contract that they get to see her grave, can't you remember?
No doubt in a few years there will be signs all the way from the village. Poor woman.
Well, your precious childhood memories have proved completely useless.
Do you want your money back?
No, I want my 8 years back.
I had a terrible dream last night.
I think you may be here.
People kept taking bits of earth from round the stone. Summer people. So I had to put the sign. My grandfather knew her. She was a quiet woman.
Rose, you're never there when you need it. Mark the place. Here, I'll do it.
I get the feeling maybe she doesn't want us here.
But who brings her those fresh flowers?
Well, it's only money.
I don't know that's a well wearing, but I'm not going to let it cast me off. £2,000. £2,000. We only have to do this 4 times to make £8,000, Bruce. I'm brilliant at one thing, reading. Why should I starve while somebody who's good with numbers makes himself fat in the best restaurants?
You don't know what hunger is.
I'm not working in a publishing house for the rest of my life, and we're not doing any harm. They're having a great time.
I would hate to have this done to me.
She's a writer. Writers love to be talked about. I should know, and she's a great woman writer. We're desuppressing a great woman writer. What is bothering you? I wanted to come here. You've been so secretive about your memories.
If you betray me, I'll never forgive you.
Why am I so much older than you? I couldn't tell Bruce. Bruce. I had consumed his mystery in that place. I looked up betrayal, to disappoint someone's expectations. Surely then all marriage is betrayal, to prove false. I looked up false. That's the trouble with these shifting times. You have to look up every word in the dictionary. There appeared something which resembled a human figure. It moved slowly towards the kneeling man, who, when he saw it, jumped up and tried to run. But the mud caught his boots, seemed to pull him down, and still the figure hovered.
The mist was rising with the tide, and still Mr. Verney tried to run. We were now rowing towards him at the creek field, but he seemed not to see us.
When we came, there was nothing. But strangest of all, my dear Francis, is that although we searched the creek for many days afterwards, Mr. Verney's body was never found. And his widow has refused to allow a burial or memorial service. Does she think he will come back?
I leave you to judge these strange events, and I hope this will not deter you from your promised visit next month.
The fishing remains excellent.
Wow.
I don't like the last line.
No, it's right. It's ordinary.
There's something. There is something.
Mr. Verney's body? Oh, boy.
I shall have to come back. Rose, mark the place, please. If I could find something of hers, it would be a treasure. She walked here all the time. So did her characters. I shall have to come back. There is something.
I have a first edition. It's signed by her. I opened the door for an old woman in Glasgow. One of the poles was jammed. I have some early penguins too.
Do you believe in dreams? When I was a child in Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, I dreamt all the time. It's that kind of country. They stopped when we came to this country. Actually, they stopped when I got married.
Yeah. I know.
They've started again. I keep hearing the sea.
The North Sea?
I suppose so, yes. Why? Does it sound any different from any other sea? Oh, yes. The North Sea. I'll be happy when this week is over.
Oh, don't say that. My favourite story is the North Sea. I read it to my daughter.
Doesn't it frighten her?
Yes, but she likes that.
In these stories, it is the ordinary, the day-to-day, that suddenly turns and reveals an underside. A calendar is a calendar, the relentless passage of days. But suddenly, one number looms large. An ordinary print of a house moves, changes. We drop off the edge of the ordinary. This is the privilege of imagination. And science, same thing often. Note, too, that a ghost is always immoral. It is often the innocent it attacks, the person who happens to be there by accident in its path. That is also the nature, the tragedy of modern science. It too is immoral, accidental. Ethics, which lifted the ordinary to something meaningful, has not caught up. We feel safe in the ordinary, but sometimes we suspect it. Could it turn, we ask ourselves. Ellen Norman turns it for us, our ordinary. And by the way, any construction of an unusual biography is a complete contradiction and idiotic.
Hear, hear.
Our ability to cope with fear has become atrophied through the so-called safety of our life and our willful ignorance of what makes the world around us. Science. But how solid is this world? Fear. What is the word? Hunts. Stalks, nonetheless.
That was a wonderful talk. We should have paid you to come.
I wanted to practice my English.
Is that the only reason?
Memories. There are ghosts, too. You know?
Yes.
You can run from them or try to look face to face. I studied in London for some years. I was a student, so I was in love, of course. And we came here a week.
The only thing that turns the ordinary upside down besides fear is love, isn't it?
Exactly.
What happened?
He was English. No, it is true, Bruce. I had no map to him. I don't know the language, or maybe he was a little mad, but I couldn't find my way. I was a student. There were other lovers, and I was impatient, so. Well, at that age, you think it will happen again and again, but that is wrong. In Paris, many years later, I recognized.
And you?
Yes, I looked him up. A marriage, convenient, all that. I do think he felt the same. I saw memory. And then fear. So I'm here. I came here to fall in love. A young man, an innocent, young enough for selfishness to be forgiven. But your wife, I am a socialist feminist, and I believe in equal distribution of men.
I need her. She keeps me from remembering.
To go home empty-handed.
It's this dream.
You're always having to dream.
That's not true. I never dream. That is, but not until
I have to go. I know there's something in those dreams.
Oh, so
I read somewhere that some women are attracted to alcoholics. If the man stops drinking, they lose interest. I was attracted to haunted men. And I was older than Bruce. I had my sexual apprenticeship in amoral times. I didn't understand fidelity. I was never taught emotional discipline.
Leave me now. Please. Leave me.
I make a good friend.
Where was that then, Patrick?
That was down on the old beach there.
Oh, yeah.
I got something dangling down underneath, I had.
Oh, yes. What, to be a sea rescue?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah.
Seen that young lady fall somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
How did you?
Right, to make what would you do? Patrick?
No, I never seen her before, and you know I shouldn't forget, because I never forget a pretty woman.
Yeah.
No, you don't forget them either, do you?
No, nor wouldn't you, Billy, would you?
No.
Tell me what you want.
I knew you'd be looking for me.
Why they take off and land and then wings?
They got choppers on it.
I'll tell you what. Sixes, Billy.
Leave that alone.
Norfolk people.
She said, you better go get rid of this horn.
They won't tell you anything.
You like that job, Billy?
My father was Devon. He never knew anything either.
Not lately. I said, I've got mulch in it. That's the quickest way out on it. Always trying to get in it.
I'm her granddaughter. They kept it quiet, but it's all coming out in the open now, and about time too. She should have a bigger grave.
Every time she gets a chance.
Did you like the flowers? Claire's don't bother.
I can't go.
Norfolk people.
Yes, I can. Yes, I'm sorry.
I reckon you should be on the garden, don't you, Billy? The state that's
The
in.
things that went on between the father and the daughter. The house isn't there anymore. And he wasn't her real father. See, he was her stepfather. Her real father was up at the hall. They let her work there. But then she had that with the Clare son. Blood will out, even in Norfolk.
No, I ain't got one, of course I ain't. I'm saying things.
And then there was the child.
Yeah, everybody.
I'm not ashamed. When my friend came and told me all about it, I held my head up high. She heard it from a professor, a real professor from Cambridge. My name is Elsie Mont. But it could be Eleanor, see? Eleanor Mont. I always knew there was something, the way they look at me. The professor's coming back soon to tell us more. I'll let you know. He could help me get her a bigger grave. An important woman like that? A Claire? You can call me Eleanor if you want.
I saw the letters change. Cloud. Unsure. Perhaps I was crying. I'm sure the rain had stopped. Perhaps I'm not. Perhaps it hadn't. I just started a book. Something about the marks we make. I wanted to look up a word that night. I forgot. I wanted to tell Bruce. He'd stopped talking to me.
Tell him it's dangerous.
It isn't. It's the only part of this I've been looking forward to.
Why?
A memory.
Bruce, I'm afraid.
Of what?
I think Eleanor Mott liked mussels.
Red mullet's my favourite fish.
We have a fishing rod we believe belonged to Darwin. And once in Rhodesia we
We
found...
don't talk about that country. Ex-country.
Do you mean Zimbabwe?
These are the best oysters in England. I have my own bed next door to the vicar's, out there on the creek.
Zimbabwe. This renaming, it is so godlike, so hopeful. The nun takes a new name when she makes her vows. It is the wiping out of her past. And writers sometimes take new names. Honoré de Balzac, Georges Sand.
I'm the one who found the photograph of Georges Sand. It had never been published by Kalamata. I found it in London inside one of her novels.
Which novel was that?
I feel so close to George Sand. I feel almost as close to her as I feel to Eleanor Mott.
We went on a tour of Gargilles. The food was excellent.
I think women writers should be banned. They irritate everybody when they're alive, and then when they're dead, they make them end up in a place like this.
I like it here. I like the sea.
The North Sea.
At least with male writers, you might get to Florence, or at worst, Sussex. Murray's right. Do you cook?
Food?
I can cook.
Fished at midnight last night. Tonight's the full moon. Don't forget your torches. I'll leave them in the hall.
Wait till I tell my students about this. They think I'm so staid. They only ever go to Barbados. What's the first thing you're going to do when you get back to Glasgow?
Hug my wee girl. And my wife.
I've been thinking perhaps we might do something else tonight. Those marshes could be dangerous. In the dark.
My dear girl, this is England.
Ghosts, maybe.
I'm not afraid of ghosts anymore.
I hope it's a little dangerous. I want to be scared. Really scared.
There's bound to be something out there.
The North Sea. The story.
That is the strangers she wrote. Because it has no ordinary. It starts from somewhere else. Is it your favorite too?
The ghost in that story isn't a usual kind of ghost.
I have a friend who took a picture of a ghost once. I'm going to bring my camera just in case. But I'll keep it hidden.
Remember when she describes how it shivers and it isn't the wind? I think it's frightened of those people.
That memory. You never told me.
My father got the tides wrong. Or forgot. He was stuck on the island for the night. He wrapped me in his jacket and then, to keep me from being frightened, I suppose, he talked about my mother. I felt like his father.
These should be comfortable. Your feet are about the same size as Bruce's.
I reread The North Sea last night.
So did I.
The tide. Because tides are so mysterious anyway. That's why it's all so strange.
The word she uses, shimmer. It's a strange word for a tide.
Or you must read it when we get back.
I've read it.
I'd seen Bruce study the tides. I checked them myself. We had 4 hours. The beauty of those marshes.
Follow right behind me, please. The water is very shallow, but we don't want to take risks. the island. Jenny?
This is the island. She set many of her stories on this island, as you know. In one of them, there is an abandoned abbey. There's no other record of it. But we can search.
I'm sure it's there. I can feel it.
Nothing here. Rose! Over there!
Next stop, the North Pole. There's nothing in between.
The air is like champagne. I want to get down to the water. Is it safe? There's no quicksand.
Not on this side, no.
That was a joke. There are ridges made by the tide. You do sink.
I will be free.
Bruce? Mr. and Mrs. Alderney.
Mr. Alderney?
Mr. Alderney?
Mr. Alderney!
Mr. Alderney!
Mr. Alderney! Mr.
Here!
I shouldn't have allowed it to prick his metal detector.
Bruce.
No, not here, not now. No, anyway.
This is a beautiful ramble, but without mystery. You cannot stalk a ghost, it finds you. But I am enjoying it. When you do the tour again, you should make the last evening in the library and put the lights out. The ordinary.
Never again.
Bruce. She's only committing a small infidelity. You Englishman. It's like a quiet walk on the beach and suddenly the gale. No warning. As for the women, I do not understand at all. They never seem to have passion, only caprice. They do not give.
We should get back. The tide will be coming up. Bruce! The Abbey.
The Abbey! Wow! Let's go!
It's too far! Jenny!
You know, in that book I was reading, before I couldn't, it says that nothing is anything until you observe it. Open the door on it, so to speak. Before then, it's a mass of possibilities. Perhaps it was an abbey. before.
I saw something move! Inside! I saw something.
We have 20 minutes to cross the creeks.
It began to rain. That sea rain. Harsh. Soaking. Our feet sank in the mud. It's a mud that tells you of the beginning of the earth, or of another planet. Untrampled. Sickos. He was still hunched over something. Then I saw him beginning to dig with his hands, with the frenzy of a terror. She was still looking down at him. I could hardly see, but I'm sure she began to sink. He tried to help her. I'm sure I heard her scream. It could have been the wind. A scream of terror and recognition. Terror is recognition, isn't it? What do you think?
That way. Water wouldn't be in that high. That's much deeper over there. My brother once took his girlfriend here, got himself stranded on purpose. But my father came to get him in his boat. Bruce and I separated. We received a card from Francoise from the Mediterranean. Then I had a wedding invitation from Nicholas. The vicar said yes, he had to make several signs. They were always stolen. I only want to say one thing more. I'm sure now I saw a figure. Mrs. Alderney ran towards it, not away from it. When the body was eventually found, it was shipped to Zimbabwe. The word I never looked up. Consequence. That book I never finished. It's a matter of physics. Every action has wave-like repercussions. The dropping of a stone into the water, the ripples. But the ripples mark forever. We marked that village. Indelibly. At first, I noticed it happened after a page, then a few sentences, then a word even. This is completely confidential. I don't want it on any files. Terror is the only way I can describe it. My heart, limpness, sweat. I need to be able to read for my job. Have you ever encountered this before?
I've seen the fear of numbers once, and the fear of certain colours. But this, no.
Even an advert on the tube, you understand? The name of a street.
Can you help? Do you want me to? Come back next week. We begin with the first letter of the alphabet.